So in my last video, I talked about how you should just order what you want. It's your drink. Don't worry about what the bartender thinks. With the caveat that you should keep in mind where you are, because that makes a difference. And I can only speak to the drinking culture, the bar culture in the United States, and parts of Mexico that cater to the United States. But there are certain differences. So, like I said, don't go to a craft beer festival and order and expect to have Bud Light, or don't have a mojito at a dive bar. And some of those are limited by like what's actually available. So most dive bars don't keep fresh mint. So you wouldn't order a mojito because they just literally don't have that. They're also not really geared for that. Now, the bartenders might know how to make it, they probably know how to make it, but they don't have the equipment and they can't give you the best possible experience. And for me, as a drinker, I want the best possible experience. So, for example, a dive bar would kind of be at the lowest setting for me as to complexity. Like, what you should order should not be complex when you're at a dive bar. So you're talking your liquor and mixers, your whiskey and coke, your vodka soda, your gin and tonic. Those are the kinds of things you should order at a dive bar. Or, they tend to know shots pretty well. Like if you say, oh, I want a buttery nipple shot, or I don't know, all sorts of stupid names. If you put two stupid words together, there's probably a shot, and the bartender will be like, oh yeah, I think I know that. Or be ready to tell them what's in it if you really care that much. So at a dive bar, you order beer, you order your liquor and mixer, and you keep it pretty straightforward. That is also true when you're at a club. So if you are somewhere really, really loud, and for the most part, I would define club as like the volume. If you have to shout for your bartender to hear, and they're like leaning forward and like looking right at your lips as you order, then don't order a Manhattan. Like, don't ask for, what is your vermouth selection like? Because they're busy, they're working, they got to be slinging drinks right now. In that situation, if you have to yell, you say 2 Bud Lights, 3 vodka cranberries, and then you have your money ready to go. Like, that's the situation usually in a dive bar or in a club. That is what you should be ordering. And the bartender is, if it's super busy, probably going to be irritated if you're like, what's your vermouth selection like? And it's like pumping and everyone's screaming. Like, they don't want to answer your question. Like, look behind me. Look at what is on the shelf. This is what you should ask for. And conversely, it's not always just the venue. So if you are a regular in a dive bar and you're there all the time, and you know that your favorite bartender, the 3 bartenders that you're used to seeing there, know how to make your Manhattan, of course you should order like, hey, I've been here often enough, it's not busy, can I get my drink this way? This is how I like it. And then from then on, you can say, hey, I'll take one of mine. That's something you can do in a dive bar. Or a lot of places, at least in Phoenix, it's very different. The daytime atmosphere versus the club, the nighttime atmosphere is very different. So there's some places where I'm like, yes, their mojitos are amazing. Like, they do these great daiquiris and blended drinks, but I get them before, 8 o'clock at night. Like, that's a lunchtime thing. That is not what I would get when I go there for the club atmosphere at midnight. So that's a thing. And then from there, there's a lot of blending, obviously, as you can tell. From there, you get up into like restaurants. So this is where a lot of bartenders get their start, is like Chili's and Macayos and, pizza joints with a full bar. Those kinds of places kind of ride that middle line. Usually if I'm somewhere like that, I'll either stick to a mixed drink, a liquor and mixer, so whiskey and Coke, or I'll get whatever's on the menu, because I know, I can say, okay, it's got Kettle One cucumber and soda and lime. I know generally what this drink is going to be, and I know it's going to be made right because it's one of their like predetermined drinks. Their bartenders are all trained on this, and I know they'll be fine. If I were to order a Manhattan from a place like that, if they even had the ingredients, they'd have to look it up. It wouldn't be quite right. It just wouldn't be great. The only thing that I don't like about drinks off of menus, and this is true anywhere from like the Chili's level up to, I'm still a little leery of like a nice Italian dinner place, but they're a lot safer. Anywhere in that range of restaurant, I expect their house cocktails, their listed cocktails, to be way too sweet and to have way too much acid. And if you're over 30, and I know I said this was directed at younger people, it is directed at younger people, so keep this in mind for, when you start to wonder why things hurt. Too much sugar and too much lime juice is gonna hurt you. And the house margarita or whatever fun thing they put together for their menu that has way too much sugar and way too much lime juice is gonna hurt. And it's gonna give you acid reflux, and it's gonna ruin your night. So I tend to stay away from things like that. And if you go, oh, I don't like daiquiris, I had one at Chili's when I turned 21 and it wasn't very good, that's not, don't judge any cocktail by what you get at a place like that. Some bartenders are great, and I've met people who can make a great drink, and I happen to work at Chili's, but I don't trust it. And unless I know the bartender and I see them making other drinks, I wouldn't trust their cocktail to be what I'm looking for. So that's like your next step up, is like, you can get cocktails here, but I wouldn't trust it to be the best example of what you're looking for. And their beers are overpriced. And generally I just don't drink at places like that because I'm all around probably not having a great time. But then you get into the cocktail bar range. And generally speaking, they're going to have a wider variety, and you can get whatever it is you're looking for, your more complex drinks, or your rarer ingredients. But they do tend to specialize, and that is a place where I do love their menus, because most of places like that, like a nice cocktail bar, it's written by the bartenders, it's written by the bar manager. These are people who have been making drinks for years, and they know how to balance things right, and they've read books on it, and they've put the culinary into it. So places like that is where you're really going to want to explore if you are getting into cocktails for the first time. So the daiquiri that you get from Chili's is very different than the daiquiri you get from a good tiki bar. And when you reach this style, this level, that's when you're looking at specialization. So your tiki bars, your whiskey bars, your rum bars, your vodka bars, those are going to be a little bit different. So they'll have a lot of stuff. So you can go to most good rum bars in Phoenix and get a Bud Light. Like, that is on the table. Your bartender will not judge you, but it is a waste of your money and your experience. And I'm really big on the idea of fully entering into the experience. So, man, I'm supposed to be making these shorter. It's really hard. I just love talking about liquor. So we're just going to stop it there, and I'll talk about cocktail bars in the next one. And this is your part one of different types of alcohol. So thanks for listening. My name is Megan. I'm from Turquoise Sky. I got to work on introducing myself too. Thanks for listening. And in the next one, we'll talk about cocktail bars and why you should order what they recommend.